Now, your mom and dad, Philip and Amy Morris, they were doing these ghost shows. As far back as the '40s when they started?
Yeah, my dad. He basically was in the entertainment business from the time of 8 years old. I mean, he truly just started doing magic and illusions, and I have 8 millimeter clips of him when he was 8, 9, 10 years old of doing magic shows, and him and my mom left home when they were 18 to go on the show doing shows and that type of thing. They were from Michigan and they moved down south eventually. Um, and basically he was doing all kinds of, whether they're TV stunts, TV shows, being burned alive. Um, then he got into doing ghost shows, and most people today don't know what a ghost show is.
Yeah, can you explain that a little bit?
So a ghost show was, back then, the theaters, most of the theaters were 1,500 seat theaters. They were like the old vaudeville theaters, and they all had a stage, 1,500 seats. A lot of them had balconies, and where today most of the theaters are mini theaters that might hold, I don't know, 200-300 people, something like that, maybe 400 people at the max. And so, and back then he would do a stage show between horror flicks, and he was big into illusions, so he had a magic illusion show. But then also part of there's a horror flick before and a horror flick afterwards. And he would do matinee shows and do night shows and midnight shows. And between the two horror flicks, he'd do this, like I said, this illusion show. And then there was this horror scene. And in the horror scene, now before everybody came in, we had, which you couldn't do today, we would go and we'd black out any visible light that would be coming into the theater, whether they were exit signs, whether they were a window somewhere, whether there's a possibility of someone opening a door to let light in. But and we did that partly for safety reasons, safety for the staff, because what would happen is we would start doing during this horror scenes, the trailer would start running, the lightning trailers would be on the screen, the thunder would be coming down. My dad would be up with a blank gun shooting it off. Mummy would be coming out. King Kong would be coming out on the stage, and then all of a sudden the lights would go out and they come back up. And he would be talking about the snakes coming down the aisles, the rats crawling up the back of your seats and crawling down over your shoulder, down to your laps, and how the girls would get wrapped around these spiders and all this stuff just going on. And then all of a sudden, the whole place would just go black.
Oh,
And you talking about pandemonium, it was absolutely crazy. And actually, he had a gash underneath his eye, stitches, where somebody threw a bottle, and he had gotten cut up underneath his eyes for one of the shows. But and that was one of the reasons why you wanted it to be a blackout, because you would not want someone to be able to see where you were in the audience, because some of the staff went down the audience and they carried these glow in the dark signs and everything else. So it was just crazy. I mean, it was just absolutely crazy. But I remember the biggest one that I remember was the one in Huntington, West Virginia, called the Keith Albee Theater.
Okay.
And we played on midnight, and they'd line up for blocks. I mean, and I must have been 11 years old when I was doing the show. And they'd fill up the 2,500 seat arena, theater, and it was just amazing.
So you're 11 years old doing this. What did they have you do in the show?
Usually I was one of the ones that was out back, taking the light over the fluorescent, phosphorescent, different items they'd bring out on stage. So in other words, burning them up so they would be seen on stage. And every now and then I'd be one of the characters, one of the little mummies or whatever. But it was crazy. That and I was always working in the concession stand. I love the business side of things. So and that's why one of the reasons the business has grown to where it is today.